Alright, so for my other video here, this is what Lindsey said in his interview that I got yesterday, basically. I think he did it the day before. About 9 different things here. Number 1, confiscation of pension funds. It's going to happen. And I wrote my own little note here. Keep in mind, in 2005, the bankruptcy laws were changed so that pensions were lower on the list of getting paid back under bankruptcy than bank debt or debt owed to banks. So the banks will get paid first before the pensioners get paid. And there's usually almost nothing left for the guy at the bottom of the list, and that's now pensioners. Before, pensioners were at the top of the list. That debt gets paid first, then the banks, the loans, the credit, that stuff, that gets paid afterwards. 2005, that was changed. The law changed. Keep in mind, we had a Republican president at that time, George Dodo Bird Bush Jr. And now we've got Obama the Great, who is doing the same things they all do, taking the country off a cliff. So, for those of you that hate the Republicans, there's a little power for you. Those of you that hate the Democrats, just look around you. You can see what's happening with this country right now. There is no left or right. There's no Democrat, there's no such thing. So just get that out of your head. Number 2. Federal pension fund. Federal pension funds. He says should see about a 30 to 50% decrease that will be confiscated, basically. They'll lose 30 to 50%. Private and local pensions will also be raided. There will be no riots, and there will be no people running in the streets. The reason being is because you will still receive your normal check, pension check, for several months, possibly a year, for a while. The checks will keep going because what they're doing is when they take away, say, 50% of your pension, you had a pension coming for many, many years. What they're essentially going to do is allow you to keep that same exact amount coming to you. Except if it was for the next 8 years, you're only going to get it for the next 4 years. I think that's what he's talking about. So why would anyone riot when your check is staying the same? Now, if they took it from you immediately and said, oh, you're still going to get it over those remaining 8 years, but it's going to get cut in half, people are going to be rioting and pissed off. People are going to be, burning buildings and burning cars. But if they say, we're going to take half of it, but they're still going to get the same exact amount that they've been getting this whole time, it's just going to run out twice as fast. That'll prevent people from rioting and going crazy right off the bat. Or so they think. And they may be right. Number 3, United States currency devaluation will take place sometime after all this happens. Absolutely was going to happen. Number 4, U.S. dollar will lose its status as reserve currency. That's a no-brainer. Number 5, global currency reset. Since our government knows that there will be a global currency reset, and so do approximately 204 other countries, in the next few months, the IMF, of course the IMF, International Monetary Fund, had to be behind this, in conjunction with their pals, the elite, and they've basically gotten with 204 countries that have agreed already, behind the scenes, agreed to allow their currencies to be revalued later when this happens. And they've all promised, the IMF, that they will keep their currency valued within 5% of each other. So no one's going to have a currency more powerful than any other currency, or least powerful, whatever, than any other currency, more than 5%. It can only go 5%. They've all agreed to this. So there goes the currency wars. No more currency wars. They're all on a level playing field. The banks will not be closed, and your funds will not be taken. So no bank runs, no stealing of people's funds, he says, out of your bank. You'll hear the president talk about this global currency reset. When this happens, and it's about to happen, you're going to hear him come out and address the nation. And it's going to be about this global currency reset. Things will seem to be okay for a little while. The currency revaluation will be determined by the assets of each country. This is where the catch comes in, he says. Since all of the countries, including the U.S., have agreed to allow only a 5% differential of each other's currency values, that means that the U.S. dollar will be just as valuable, or just as weak, as the other currencies, 204 countries. The only assets America will have, because they're saying each country's debt's going to be revalued by the revaluation, is based on your debt. The only debt America has, assets America has, is financial debt. We're the financiers of the world. All these financial businesses. We don't really do anything else for the rest of the world as far as they're concerned. So our assets, is what he's saying, is mostly debt. We ain't got a whole lot of assets. The U.S. dollar should be devalued, he says, about 30% of what it is now. We will also never have, as in the United States, we'll never have world reserve currency status ever again. Period. Done. There will be a reserve currency, but Lindsey was not told any more about what it was, but it will be backed by precious metals. And listening to him talk, I'm quite certain he knows what reserve currency it is going to be, but cannot say it's one of the things he was not allowed to talk about, other than whatever it is, it will be backed by precious metals. And here I am thinking, who's the major currency of the world right now? Which country is the biggest purchaser of precious metals? And that would be, hands down, no one else comes close, China. And remember what they told him, Lindsey? He kept saying, they kept telling him, watch China. China's the big one. And he never said, I don't know what they ever really meant by that, but they kept telling me, watch China, China's the big one. So is China going to have the world reserve currency status? Because whoever it is has to be backed by gold and silver, etc., precious metals. And they're the ones accumulating the most currently. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Here's another one. The elite are already putting their money into this new currency because they know which one it is. That will be the reserve currency. Lindsey cannot say any more about this, other than some congressmen and senators are also already doing this. And they're not going to tell you what it is. The next thing, when this starts taking place, all this starts happening, gas prices in America will climb significantly. And last but not least, the elite have been preparing you, he says, for this. Now, I don't know if this is from his elite friend or where he's getting this from, this last part. Because I always have the mindset, if it's not out of the mouth of his elite friend, then I honestly don't care who told it to him. I don't care. And I wasn't sure if he said this part or not. So this may not mean anything, but this to me rung a bell in the Webbot report. Excuse me. The elite have been preparing you for this major event for the last several years, and you had no idea. On your house, they put an electric smart meter. The U.S. government subsidized the electric companies so that they made sure that they could afford to put these smart meters on everybody's house. They use approximately a 905 megahertz frequency, which is true. I know that because Wi-Fi, there's a type of Wi-Fi internet that uses 900 megahertz also, and this interferes with it. So I know that frequency is correct. They use a 905 megahertz frequency that is a perfect frequency to resonate with your brain. They are dumbing you down in the middle of the night, he says. This thing goes off in the middle of the night and somehow helps dumb you down. I'm not going to say that again, his elite friend told him this. I don't know where he got this particular one from. But he said he talked about a guy to go research named Barry Trowell. B-A-R-R-Y, Barry Trowell. T-R-O-W-E-L. I believe that's how he spelled it. And said this guy is the one behind, he's a scientist, well-known, top of his game, talks about this stuff. So, could it be that Lindsey is going off of what this guy is saying, this Barry Trowell, in that regards. Possibly. So don't take that as gospel with what his elite friend has said. I'm just going to go ahead and say that now. But since he did mention it, I'm going to mention it to you. So that's about it. We can only see what happens in the next few months. Take care.